the real story behind the Making a Murderer documentary. Making a Murderer, a true crime documentary that was released by Netflix and quickly became one of the streaming service's most successful original series, is credited with inspiring a new wave of similar films and capturing the public's curiosity. It was anything but a Merry Christmas for those who connected to Netflix during the holidays because the service was severely disrupted. Making a Murderer is a documentary television series that debuted on December 18 on a streaming service. The program immersed viewers in one of the oddest and most unsettling true crime cases in recent memory. In the year 1985, a Wisconsin court found Stephen Avery, then 22 years old and a member of a family that owned and operated an auto salvage yard, guilty of rape and sentenced him to prison. After being incarcerated for 18 years, he was finally exonerated when DNA evidence confirmed his innocence, just as he had maintained all along. But then things took the first of many unexpected turns for the worse. Avery was caught for the murder of a local photographer named Teresa Halbach 2 years after he was released from prison, and just as he was ready to file a lawsuit against the county and local leaders seeking $36 million in damages. Avery maintained his innocence one more time, but he was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide in 2007, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Brendan Dassey, Avery's nephew who lived next door to him and allegedly participated in the murder, was also sentenced to life in prison, but he will be eligible for parole in 2048. And the subject's circumstances are still subject to change. A petition for Avery's release that was started on Change.org's website has received more than 300,000 signatures as a direct result of the series, and a petition that was sent to the White House asking President Obama to pardon Avery and Dassey has received more than 100,000 signatures. Avery is currently working on an appeal for his case. Ricciardi and Demos have recently announced that they have been contacted by a juror who alleges that some jurors believe that Avery was framed, but that they voted guilty out of fear for their personal safety. According to Ricciardi, the person felt burdened for 8 years and was expecting some fresh evidence would come out and lead to a new trial. Rolling Stone had a conversation with Ricciardi and Demos about their out-of-left-field sensation while all of this commotion was going on. You stated that everything began with a story published in the New York Times on Avery's arrest in the year 2005. Why did you feel the need to look into this matter further? Ricciardi, the tragic reality that a large number of people in the United States are charged with significant violent crimes such as murder is one of the aspects of this story that resonated with us. As far as we were concerned, this was not going to be a murder mystery. After reading the initial article in the New York Times, we quickly realized that this was a man about whom we had a preconceived notion that, should we accompany him on his trip through the American criminal justice system, it would take us from one extreme to the other. When we read that someone who had been cleared in a DNA investigation was now being charged with a new crime, that struck me as something that had never happened before. During an interview conducted after the series, a local reporter by the name of Anjanette Levy said the following: "I did notice there were some parts of the state's theory and some other things that weren't discussed in the documentary." However, she also mentioned that the trial lasted for 6 weeks, during which time a significant amount of evidence was examined in court. She expressed astonishment that the trial, which she thought was interesting on many levels, had not garnered greater national attention when it was being carried out. She remarked that she found it compelling on many levels. She described the conviction of Dassey as tragic, much like she described Avery's unjust conviction in 1985, but she did not offer any commentary regarding the conviction of Halbach. Diana Alvear, a reporter for television, expressed her opinion on her blog that the show should devote more time and attention to the life and character of Halbach. Even over a decade after the conclusion of the trial, other local reporters have stated that the subject continues to weigh heavily on their minds. The show captured the attention of a significant number of people all across the world. On social media, the show has received positive feedback from several famous people, including Alec Baldwin, Ricky Gervais, and Mandy Moore. More than 128,000 people have signed a petition requesting that Avery and Dassey be granted pardons. The petition was sent to the White House. In response, the White House stated that because both convictions were handed down by state courts, the president lacked the jurisdiction to grant clemency to either of the defendants. The previous governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker, stated that he would not even consider granting a pardon. Dassey is being defended by an organization located at Northwestern University called the Center on Wrongful Convictions of Children. His appeals within the state courts were unsuccessful. However, on August 12, 2016, a magistrate judge in a federal district court reversed his conviction because the illegal coercion of his confession was the basis for the overturning of his conviction. His legal team had submitted a habeas corpus petition to the court, requesting that it hear their client's case. On November 16, 2016, the Seventh Circuit of the United States Court of Appeals for the United States granted a stay on the release pending the resolution of the appeal. As of the 9th of January in the year 2016, Avery was being represented in court by Kathleen Zellner, a well-known attorney in the Chicago region, and Tricia Bushnell, the legal director of the Midwest Innocence Project. In April 2019, Bushnell ceased acting as Avery's representative. Crucial response. The series was met with both acclaim and criticism from reviewers in equal measure. The first season has received an approval rating of 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 40 reviews, with an average rating of 8.65 out of 10. Several individuals lauded the show for the breadth and depth of its coverage. Making a Murderer is described as a captivating slow burn that expertly employs the documentary format to weave a twisting story by the site's critical consensus. According to Metacritic, the first season received universal acclaim with a weighted average score of 84 out of 100, based on the opinions of 21 different critics. In an article that she penned for The Atlantic, Lenica Cruz praised the series for its feeling of utter immersion. In an article for the New York Times, Mike Hale characterized it as providing an story of the catastrophe that befell the Averys is almost Dickensian in its tone. Even as their business is destroyed and they lose any sense of belonging to a community, Mr. Avery's parents remain steadfast in their belief that their son did not commit the crime. The other members of the family, who are all uniformly stoic, change their allegiances throughout the series of events. Mr. Avery's parents are as movingly bewildered and terrified as any fictional creation. One of Avery's attorneys for the Halbach trial, Dean Strang, remarked that the documentary's editors did a decent editorial job with it. Strang mentioned that the trial lasted for a total of 6 weeks and included anywhere between 200 and 240 hours of evidence. Strang thinks that it would have been unreasonable to reveal the entirety of the trial to the public and that instead, only the most critical arguments made by each side could have been shown. He was against the notion that major evidence had been omitted. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.